Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is, and welcome back. I hope that your time between the show today and yesterday has been amazing and outstanding, and that you're enjoying the lovely Friday. We made it through another very busy week, but we're not done yet. We've got more corrupt judges to talk about before we unplug for the weekend, before the corrupt judges hopefully stop being so corrupt. Quick preview on what is coming up. We got several updates. We're going to be talking about this woman today, Beryl Howell. We know her from prior cases here that we've covered at length, including J6 cases, Mueller cases, Russia collusion cases, and more. She's one of the worst and is currently the senior judge out in the District of Columbia. But Trump today filed a motion to disqualify her booty right off the case. Seen here, we'll get up to speed on what is inside and refresh our recollection on who she is. Now, this is in the case of Perkins Coie, these terrible lawyers who we've covered at length related to the Michael Sussman saga. Mark Elias used to work there, and they were the lawyers for Hillary Clinton back in 2016, trying to rig that election too. So, bunch of updates on that one. But with that, we also saw Trump had a major announcement, entered into an agreement with a law firm and posted the agreement over on Truth. And what's so interesting about this is that it's almost as though this law firm is bending the knee. And there was a little mutiny inside. Anna Bauer, she does great legal reporting, is sharing with us that this woman called Rachel Cohen sent a letter out to everybody, sent an email out and said, I'm disappointed in you. Basically, it's, I'm disappointed in you email. And then they cut her off of the email system. So she says, we better stand up and support Perkins or else I'm out of here. And they're like, well, have a nice career. And so adios to her. So we'll go through that story. Pretty fun. And then this guy was on with Fox. He works with DOGE. And we have this clip of him explaining what they're working on. And you can see why so many ACLU gangbanger lawyers are so interested in keeping the grift going, because there's a lot of it going on. So as you can see, we'll go through that. Then we've got other updates. We'll talk about this trans case because the DOD issued this one as of today, March 21st. As you can see, they updated their policies for prioritizing military readiness. Remember, the judge came out and said, listen, if there's somebody who is Rachel and wants to be called Ron, or vice versa, Ron to Rachel or whatever, you have to accept them. They're not, judge is like, I'm a military general now. You're going to have a more efficient force if they're all out there commingling or whatever. So ordered them to do a bunch of stuff. So the DOD came back out, issued a new directive, and then submitted a follow-up filing basically saying, oh, well, we changed the directive. So it's kind of moot now. Whatever you want us to do, it's moot. And we've complied, so to speak, but we know what's happening here. Okay. This is tactical compliance. In this case, it is reluctant enforcement, or probably better word for that. We'll work on it. But you can see we got updates on that on the trans case. And then, of course, we'll talk about Adam Schiff, very appropriate. And then we'll get an update from Hegseth himself on what they're finding there in DOGE. Then we got to check out what's happening with the Boasberg case. This is the deportation case where Judge Boasberg and the gangbanger ACLU lawyers love to have terrorists in our country and wanted the airplanes turned around in the middle of the flight. Now, what we're asking for here is the order, because there was just a hearing today. So you could see me refreshing the screen here to see if we were hopeful that it would pop up as the tubes are warming up. But we don't have the official order, but we do have the proceedings transcribed courtesy of Margot Cleveland for us on X, and a bunch of other reaction because Trump came out and he's demanding that Republicans do something about this. Okay, it's time to save America. Stop these corrupt judges from continuing to do what the corrupt judges are doing. And the Republicans have some ideas, actually. Darrell Issa has a bill that is out, and it's passed out of the judiciary. And so we'll take a look at what that bill has inside. Maybe it can solve this constitutional crisis manifested by the courts themselves with some congressional action. So we'll look at all of that and more. And I'm so glad you're here. We had a great members only stream this morning. We really appreciate our members. Thank you for becoming a member. If you've been considering it, thanks for making the leap. We'll come back tomorrow for our Saturday members only stream, which are always a lot of fun. And we'd love to have you. We have member streams in the mornings and on Saturdays. You can join by going to watchingthewatchers.locals.com or by clicking the join button on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow. We had a great members only stream this morning. So check that out if you're looking for other stuff. We talked about this morning Cori Bush's husband who got indicted. It was fun. So check that out. Thanks for becoming a member. Great way to support the show and a great way to, of course, connect with other watchers out there in the wild. We appreciate it. All right. So let's get into it. On the day, President Trump and the DOJ file a motion to disqualify Judge Beryl Howell. She's one of the worst there in the District of Columbia. You see, this is the filing that came out in the case of Perkins Coie versus the U.S. DOJ. And these are the, in my opinion, corrupt lawyers who are suing the DOJ because Trump issued the executive order saying, we're not doing business with you people anymore. All right, you were responsible for hiring Mark Elias, who was working with Michael Sussman. You guys worked with Fusion GPS, who colluded with Christopher Steele to create an entire fake Russia collusion narrative that Hillary Clinton's Jake Sullivan shoved all over X 30 days before the election, or maybe 15 days before the election, trying to rig the election. So they were all involved in it. Perkins Coie then got rid of Mark Elias, or something happened there. He went and started Democracy Docket, and it's been a Democrat super firm forever. So Judge Beryl Howell simultaneously has, in our opinion, also been a corrupt judge who has been on a war against President Trump and the right for ages now. Here's just a synopsis from Wikipedia saying she was the district's chief judge from 16 to 23. Pretty important years there, covered a lot of ground. Of course, the Trump year is 2016 when he came in 17. As chief judge, she did a bunch of things, supervised federal grand juries in the district. She breached Trump's attorney-client privilege with his defense attorneys, hauling them in there and then using that information for Jack Smith down in Florida. And was also involved in the Mueller investigation, Russian interference in 2016, which was made up by the Democrats, and then also the so-called attempts to overturn 2020, which was rigged by the Democrats, right? They tried to do it at 16 and then were successful in 20. So that's who we're talking about, just so we can put a face to a name, because oftentimes these judges hide in the shadows behind their black robes. But we know who she is. She's been on this show and this channel many times. But that's who we're talking about today. So Trump submitted this motion to disqualify her from the case. Perkins wants access back. They're trying to undo Trump's executive order. And Beryl Howell kind of split it on this. When she issued her initial TRO, she gave them some access back and then didn't grant them everything that they wanted. Now, then Trump came back out and Pam Bondi said via the DOJ that they'll only notify everybody of the update, but that they're going to do everything possible to protect the DOJ from corrupt lawyers, as they should. In fact, these lawyers were investigated and prosecuted. Michael Sussman was, who used to work there. And that's just the tip of the spear, because John Durham really didn't do much of anything other than just come in and clean up, mop up the whole thing and make everybody pretend like he was doing something for 2 years. So now Trump is filing to disqualify her and enforce the executive order that's already been issued to boot Perkins out of the government. So here's what Trump says. Fair proceedings free from any suggestion of impartiality are essential to the integrity of this country's judiciary, and the need to curtail ongoing improper encroachment of President Trump's executive power playing out across the country. Now, in this case, reasonable observers may well view this court, Judge Howell, as insufficiently impartial to adjudicate the meritless challenges to President Trump's efforts to implement his agenda that the American people elected him to carry out. In fact, this court, Beryl Howell, has repeatedly demonstrated partiality against and animus towards President Trump. Now, examples are many. We've talked about them here. We've even played videos of her giving speeches and stuff. But examples include this court enabling the improper efforts, oh, let's lay it on, of disgraced former prosecutor called Jack Smith. Despite a readily apparent lack of venue in this district, right? That's where Jack was coming to her and saying, Judge, I need your permission to do this. And she's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, it's just attorney-client privilege. Well, it's probably in furtherance of a crime, so sure, we will allow you to investigate it. Poof! The whole thing pops open. Then she allows Jack Smith to take that down to Florida and use it. Why didn't Jack just go down to Florida and get it there? Oh, yeah, because there's an actual real judge there called Judge Eileen Cannon and other judges who were not corrupt D.C. judges. Now, also this judge wrongly suggested in public that Trump is an authoritarian during one of her little rants and speeches, and incorrectly found that President Trump, the most well-known man on earth, presents a flight risk. She's psycho. Where even the prior administration's Department of Justice had to retract such a suggestion. It's like, well, he might leave the country and we might have to lock him down here. This court's comments at the hearing on the meritless motion for a TRO, which would shove Perkins Coie back in, including gratuitous and biased references by this court regarding the investigation of Robert Mueller, confirmed that reasonable observers may view this court, and we're pretty dang reasonable here, and we agree, this court is incapable of fairly adjudicating these claims against the commander-in-chief, biased, partisan, and so on. Now, accordingly, Trump writes, to ensure that these proceedings are free from any suggestion of impartiality, the Trump DOJ now moves to disqualify this court and Judge Beryl Howell. Get out. This case involves serious concerns about election integrity, national security, and the past actions of the law firm called Perkins Coie, Mark Elias's former firm. Given the statements made by the court at the initial hearing in this matter and its out-of-court statements, this judge's impartiality in this case might reasonably be questioned. And so accordingly, Trump and the DOJ respectfully submit that this matter should be transferred to another district court judge, who's less of a hack, who was neither involved with the Mueller report, like this judge was, nor the investigation of John Durham, like she was, who has not demonstrated a pattern of hostility towards President Trump and his administration. Now, they write that according to the rules, recusal is mandatory, where a judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Under U.S. Code, says that a federal judge shall disqualify himself or herself, in this case, in any proceeding in which his impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Now, a judge also shall, not may, not could, or probably should, or any of those contingents. It's shall. You must do it. Where she has a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party. And we know this judge hates Trump. Like on the record. This question is whether a reasonable and informed observer would question this judge's impartiality. Now, the touchstone for recusal under the law is this. It's not the reality of bias. It's not whether she is actually biased. And spoiler alert, she is. But it's whether it is appearing that she is biased. The very purpose of this is to promote confidence in the judiciary by avoiding even the appearance of impropriety. We remember a lot of this language from Noxious Fannyland case. Thus, any doubts must be resolved in favor of recusal. If it's even questionable, you got to go. Okay, we want our system to not be filled with Democrat hacks. The Supreme Court has explained that remarks by a court may constitute a basis for recusal, if you start running your mouth, Judge, if they display a deep-seated favoritism or antagonism that would make fair judgment impossible. So let's talk about that. If that's the rule, let's see. So Perkins, they challenged Trump's executive order. He said Perkins Coie is a corrupt firm, says that they've engaged in a pattern of dishonest and dangerous activity, and that members of the firm were involved in matters subject to the Durham investigation, and someone got indicted there, Michael Sussman. Now, to be clear, Michael Sussman was acquitted. He was prosecuted in Washington, D.C., and there was a comment, we read through it here, from some jurors, it's like, we got better things to worry about than someone who tried to investigate Trump. They didn't care because he was Team Democrat, and that's what this district is. This court is no stranger to this issue, given its role in the Mueller investigation. Now, this court's, in other words, Judge Beryl Howell, has engaged in systematic hostility towards President Trump. Trump's DOJ continues, saying, this court has not kept its disdain for President Trump secret. It has voiced its thoughts loudly, both inside and outside the courtroom. In fact, in a November 2023 speech that this court delivered at a Women's White Collar Defense Association event, it lamented that America is at a crossroads, and the judge wrote, in an apparent reference to President Trump, indicated that one path would lead to authoritarianism. Wow, shocking. And here, let's see if we can just cue this up real quick. I think we've watched this once here before, but yeah, it's a long one, but let's see. So here was just a little snippet of what happened. And so they brought out Beryl Howell at one point. Let's see if we can just seek over into it. It's not her. We did watch this once before. I should have queued this up once before. Sorry about that. But let's see if we can just, they saved her for the end. There she is. So this is Beryl Howell, and she came out. And here's just a little bit of her speech.
Like Loretta herself, Sally Yates is here.
All friends.
Who are all living heroes in the law. It's also an honor to share the stage tonight with Lisa Monaco, who's also receiving the Champion Award.
Yeah, Lisa Monaco. Remember her? She was working right under Merrick Garland, who was prosecuting all the J6ers, and it was her agency, the DOJ, that was warning Hunter Biden. Remember? So the D.C. Circuit judge is hanging around with Lisa Monaco, who was working in the last administration to prosecute Republicans. Incredible.
Tonight, congratulations, Lisa. Having watched your career over the years, I've been in awe of how you remain a model of calm and grace.
Wow.
When carrying enormous responsibility for the safety of so many, not just in your current job, but in your prior.
Yeah, okay.
This event is a marvelous opportunity to reconnect with friends and also to meet tomorrow's leaders in the law.
What's going to happen?
Looking around the room at this sold-out event, it really is a marvel to appreciate all that the WWCDA has accomplished to expand diversity and opportunities for women in the white-collar field, whether serving as hundreds of individuals who have been convicted for offense conduct on January 6, 2021, when they disrupted the certification of the 2020 presidential election at the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah.
As district court judges, we are all about the facts and enforcing the procedural and evidentiary rules to make sure authentic, reliable, and tested facts are brought forward to resolve a case with serious consequences for noncompliance and for not telling the truth. That is what a fair process is all about and what generally makes for a just outcome. To be sure, stories can be told with different facts emphasized or highlighted or contextualized.
Okay, so she's going to explain how you can spin facts to call a protest an insurrection. Thank you, Judge. So we understand who she is. That's what she sounds like. You can put a face to a name to see what kind of person we're dealing with. But she, of course, is now being asked to disqualify herself. So she made these remarks. She said, we're at a crossroads, right? It's in there somewhere. You could listen to the full thing if you want to burn your eardrums out. But she said in Trump's filing that Judge Howell's remarks did not live in a vacuum, okay? They prompted a judicial misconduct complaint from a member of Congress and serious media scrutiny. And we saw that was filed by Elise Stefanik. We definitely read that here. Now, this court's hostility towards President Trump is also on full display through her disdain for his supporters. She hates us. For example, in response to a basic dismissal motion under the federal rules of criminal procedure, this court took the opportunity to grandstand about the 2020 election and Trump supporters, directly rejecting Trump's determination that dismissal of pending indictments against individuals for their conduct related to the events on January 6th, Trump said would end a grave national injustice that has been perpetrated upon the American people over the last 4 years. And Trump wrote that he's going to begin a process of national reconciliation. Okay, so that's what Trump said in his pardon. So all these judges wrote their little whiny final words in response to the motions to dismiss and everything that was coming in front of them after the pardons came out. The J6ers, people were filing things. And so then they ranted about it. The court curtly stated, this judge, in her whiny tone, that no national injustice occurred here. We were saving democracy. The court then engaged in wholly inappropriate name calling in her filing, repeatedly calling President Trump supporters sore losers. This is cope. She's coping right now. Okay. She's the sore loser. We won. And stating that President Trump's pronouncement relayed a revisionist myth. No, it is not. Trump said he was going to do it. The American people agreed with him, put him back in, and that's the game. So this court's pattern of hostility towards Trump is not limited to his supporters, okay? It also utilized the judicial power barrel against Trump himself during the height of Jack Smith's illegitimate prosecutor and his weaponized lawfare against President Trump. Like, where were all the people screeching about Elon when it came to Jack Smith? Elon's not appointed under the law. Okay, well, he doesn't hold an office. Jack Smith literally held the office of the special counsel, could do whatever he wanted, prosecuted anybody, anywhere, was not appointed by the president or confirmed by the Senate, was just appointed by Garland to lead the office, was found illegitimate by Judge Eileen Cannon. Judges everywhere just allowed it to go on. DC allowed it to go on. Judge Eileen Cannon had to throw him out because he's illegitimate. Now they're doing everything they can to stop Elon, who doesn't even have an office, because they're whacked. So this court found reason to believe that the former president, she said, would flee from prosecution, wrote Judge Beryl Howell, despite Trump being one of the most recognizable figures in this entire world. Said, noting even the government later acknowledged that it had errantly included flight as a predicate for its application. Okay, we have to, in other words, we need, Your Honor, to give us access to this secret data, attorney-client privilege materials that we couldn't otherwise get. We can't notify Trump about, why can't you tell him about this? Why can't you ask through normal discovery mechanisms and whatever? Well, we can't because if he knows, then he might flee the country and this could be dangerous. We have to prosecute him. And yes, oh, you're right. He is a flight risk because you suggested it. And then they said, actually, sorry, we don't even think he's a flight risk. She's like, oh, yeah, I guess I don't either. I was just thinking whatever you were telling me to think because I love Lisa Monaco. She's so beautiful. So later in the waning moments of its 7-year term as chief judge, this court ruled that private documents belonging to Trump's personal attorney must be given to Smith. Breached everything. She invoked the rarely used crime fraud exception to say that Trump and his lawyers were committing crimes. And you can't commit a crime and use your attorney to cover it up. So this court pierced attorney-client privilege. It's insane. It's insane to do it in general, to a lawyer in general, because it's such a sacred privilege that the law really protects. Like the lawyer's got to be doing something pretty criminal, covering something up, engaged in multiple criminality. It's a high standard for her to just go, because attorneys take an oath, they pass the bar, they go through ethics, background checks, they go through all sorts of stuff. To breach that, it's a sacred thing that they're breaching. And it shouldn't be breached without real good cause. She did it for the president. Ordering Trump's attorney to testify before a DC grand jury investigating the alleged retention of the government documents. This court then issued a ruling when venue for the grand jury proceedings in this case were in Florida, not in DC. She said, well, I can hear the case and I'll make some decisions on it. The district court in Florida appeared to be troubled by this court's procedure, and seemed inclined to engage in an extended evidentiary hearing in Judge Cannon's courtroom to address it before ultimately dismissing the unconstitutional case against Trump on other grounds because Jack Smith is not a real boy. Now, additionally, in 2023, this court held Twitter in contempt of court for failing to comply with Jack Smith's demands for Twitter messages for Trump's DMs. She breached attorney-client privilege and then cracked into his DMs. I mean, that's, even for this judge, is low. This court could not resist from editorializing either, asking whether Musk wants to cozy up with the former president and whether Twitter's efforts were to make Trump feel like he is particularly welcomed renewed user of Twitter. Like Elon and Trump are getting a little bit too close for Judge Beryl Howell's comfort. So Trump and the DOJ continue. Motion to disqualify the judge. They write, Your Honor, simultaneously with filing its complaint, so Perkins suing Trump, Perkins also filed a motion for a TRO, the restraining order. Within 24 hours of this complaint being filed, this court conducting a hearing on the TRO ruled from the bench and granted the relief to the law firm. Now, during the course of the hearing, a number of exchanges took place between the court and the Trump DOJ regarding the activities of Perkins Coie and their attorneys in 2016, back during that election that they tried to rig. Specifically, their involvement in the procurement and distribution of the report by Fusion GPS. This report has now been fully discredited, and the role of Perkins Coie attorneys in the distribution of this report was a centerpiece of the Durham investigation, which was a flop. Yet this court said, I know the president has just, hit barrel hell. Based on reading these papers, he was upset about that in 2016. He was so upset about this, still, he filed a lawsuit against Perkins and others in the Southern District of Florida that was dismissed in rapid order. She says, he keeps bringing it up. If he doesn't want any of us to forget Fusion GPS, if he doesn't want any of us to forget any of this, he really has to be in his bonnet about it, says this judge, who is really the one who's coping right now because her side lost despite their best efforts. They tried to, of course, rig the judiciary, and it backfired on him. So why is he so upset about it? Because you tried to steal an election, Judge, and then you violated all of his constitutional rights because you're a Democrat hack. That's why he's upset. So yeah, I have a bee in my bonnet about it too, Judge. I hope there are repercussions, and I think many Americans do. So as seen in the above exchange, issues of the Durham investigation, the Fusion GPS, and the Mueller report are central to the EO. That's why Trump did this. This court's condescending remark that President Trump has a bee in his bonnet about the Fusion GPS demonstrate a concerning and dismissive approach to the entire investigation, an investigation that touched on the court's role in the Mueller report and one in which members of Perkins Coie, the plaintiffs in this case, played a primary and essential role. The entire Fusion GPS fiasco is a lamentable part of this nation's history, and you were a part of it, as demonstrated through comments in this proceeding and other judicial proceedings. And in the public, observers might reasonably have concerns about this court's impartiality in this matter. So recusal of you, Judge, is warranted to ensure these proceedings continue fair and free from concerns about your bias. Now, Trump deserves a court proceeding free from concerns about impartiality. And so in order to remove the possibility of any impartiality to these proceedings, Trump and the DOJ respectfully request that this court recuse itself and return this matter to assignment before a judge free from any other appearance of hostility towards this administration and is otherwise unconnected with any other matters related to Mueller or Durham, signed in a very nice filing from Richard Lawson, Deputy Associate AG out of the District of Columbia. And here's the order they sent over for her convenience in case she wants to just sign it. They say, Judge, here's the proposed order for you, just so you can just print this puppy out and sign it. Just say, after considering Trump's brilliant motion to disqualify me, it is hereby ordered that the motion is granted. The clerk is directed to reassign this case to a judge who is not a hack. That's my addition. So ordered, dated, hopefully today. Judge, sign it. Another spoiler, she won't. So that got submitted. Of course, she is absolutely partial and biased and should be removed. We'll keep our eye on this one and see what she says in response. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now we carry on and we've got another law firm battle update, which is a fun one. A major law firm bends the knee. President Trump announced this over on True Social, and shortly thereafter, there was a mutiny from inside the very firm. We've got the details here, courtesy of Anna Bauer. And she says hours after they broke the news, this woman sent an email. Her name was Rachel A. Cohen, and she wrote this rant. Trump, we're caving, and I can't believe you guys made a deal with him, inside her own law firm. And then they apparently cut off her email access after she tried to blow up the firm. So here's what Trump said that caused all of this ruckus to unfold. He posted today. President Trump agreed to withdraw his prior executive order. And of course, that prior order was not towards Perkins Coie, which was the second order. First one went to Paul Weiss. Now, that law firm entered into an agreement with the president. They say, okay, the law firm now agrees that the bedrock principle of American justice is that it must be fair and nonpartisan for all. So don't attack the president for partisan reasons. Our justice system is betrayed when it is misused to achieve political ends, writing that lawyers and law firms play a vital role in ensuring that we live up to the standard as a nation. It's true. It's why I was interested in the law. Law firms should not favor any political party when it comes to choosing their clients. Firms should also not make decisions on whom to hire based on a person's political affiliation. To do otherwise is to deny some Americans an equal opportunity for our services while favoring others. Lawyers abandon the profession's highest ideals when they engage in partisan decision-making and betray the ethical obligation to represent those who are popular or disfavored in a particular environment. Now, these lawyers at Paul Weiss affirm its unwavering commitment to these core ideals and principles and will not deny representation to clients, including in pro bono matters and in support of nonprofits because of the personal political views of individual lawyers. Paul Weiss will take on a wide range of pro bono matters that represent the full spectrum of political viewpoints of our society, whether conservative or liberal. And Paul Weiss also affirms its commitment to merit-based hiring, promotion, retention, will not adopt, use, or pursue any DEI policies. As part of its commitment, it will engage experts to be mutually agreed upon within 14 days to conduct a comprehensive audit of all of its employment practices. Whew. Now, this firm will dedicate the equivalent of $40 million in pro bono legal services over the course of President Trump's term to support the administration's initiatives, including assisting our nation's veterans, fairness in the justice system, and the president's task force to combat anti-Semitism and other mutually agreed upon projects. Now, here's a statement from the White House. The president is agreeing to this action in light of a meeting with Paul Weiss chairman called Brad Karp, during which Mr. Karp acknowledged the wrongdoing, here we go, of former Paul Weiss partner, Mark Pomerantz. Oh, you remember him. He was the person who instigated the New York prosecution against President Trump and was working with the prior prosecutor in New York before Alvin Bragg came in. Then Alvin Bragg came in and told Mark Pomerantz and Carrie Dunn, by the way, who was also working. These guys were working basically for free. These high-power lawyers with TDS, dementia on the brain, were devoting time and gifting resources to assist Alvin Bragg in the creation of a case against Trump. When Bragg said he can't prosecute them anymore, Mark Pomerantz threw a hissy fit temper tantrum, like one of the most pathetic babies you've ever seen in the law, and wrote a rant in the New York Times, very upset about it, then wrote this whole book about it. Oh, like betrayed, I didn't sign up for the law. Shut up. Pathetic, honestly. And looked and sounded the same too. And then, of course, Biden's DOJ sent over another DOJ prosecutor to take over the case, and then the prosecution reanimated. So now that law firm is being penalized because they were dedicating resources to creating a free prosecution against Trump. And this pattern has been something we've seen similarly in the Jack Smith case. Why did he get all of that free legal work? Was $1 million or whatever it was going towards Jack Smith, which means it's definitely much more than that, or $100,000, whatever it was, which means it's $1 million. So it was a lot of money. So they do this, they gift money away, and they're complicit in the fabrication of a criminal case. These guys are lucky, man, that the DOJ is not investigating them through and through to figure out how much time and resources went to facilitate a government prosecution of a political opponent of Letitia James. So, like, this is a gift to them. We look forward to an engaged and constructive relationship with the president and his administration. So that deal happened, and they are lucky that that deal happened, and that I guess now he'll rescind the executive order. Their contracts with the government can continue, and they better be very nice to all political parties rather than just salivating at the Democrat teat for that money. And by the way, the Democrats are going to have a lot less legal funds. All that USAID, all of that Department of Ed money, all of that government funding was going back into supporting these law firms, which would then go and lobby and fight for them in the courts and ensconce them in power with these settlement agreements and more with the various entities. So Trump posted that, and it's tremendous news, great development, that Trump is getting them to bend the knee, ultimately, admit that they were wrong. Mark Pomerantz blown the F out, having a rough day today. Maybe he'll write another book about it. But here's what Anna Bauer posted. Said, hours after the Paul Weiss news broke, an associate at Skadden Arps sent a firm-wide email. Says, please consider this my 2-week notice. So I don't know if this was the same firm or a sub-firm, but it sounds like it's a big firm. So Rachel Cohen sent this out. Here's the email. Jeremy and colleagues, with gratitude and urgency, 9:07 p.m. Mad as hell. Rachel writes, many deals I work on have concepts of conditional notice. This is mine. Please consider this email my 2-week notice, revocable if the firm comes up with a satisfactory response to the current moment, which should include at minimum 1. And this is one of the more obnoxious lawyer types that you'll run into in the world. Could you imagine like dating this person or something? You're like, where would you like to go to dinner? She sends you a freaking paragraph like this. You're like, actually, I'm not feeling that well. So she says, please consider this email my 2-week notice, and it should include a minimum. Signing on to the firm amicus brief in support of Perkins Coie in its litigation fighting the Trump administration executive order against it. Committing to broad future representation, regardless of whether powerful people view it as adverse to them. 3. Refusal to cooperate with the EEOC's request for personal information of our colleagues clearly targeted at intimidating non-white employees. Give me a break. It's clearly targeted. Says public refusal to fire or otherwise force out employees at the Trump administration's directive or implied directive, which he never told anybody to fire anybody. It's your firm. Keep them or not. Hire Mark Pomerantz if you want. Go hire up Mark Elias and Michael Sussman, but you're not doing business with the administration. So, because they're obviously corrupt people, in my opinion. Says, and also make a public commitment to maintenance and affinity groups and related initiatives. So this lawyer is just like telling her bosses, do this or I'm out. Ish. Let's see how it works out for her. This is not what I saw for my career or for my evening. But Paul Weiss's decision to cave to the Trump administration on DEI, representation, and staffing has forced my hand. Okay, so she's at a different firm. It wasn't even her firm. She's screaming at her boss, like, we didn't do anything. We didn't sign a deal with Trump. What's your problem, lunatic? And representation staffing has forced my hand. She says, we do not have time. It is now or never. And if it is never, I will not continue to work here. Okay. Oh man, if you're like, it's 9:17 at night. You're like just getting ready to go. 9:07. Jeremy's like just getting ready for bed. He's like, oh my gosh, Rachel. Email pings Rachel Cohen. He's like, it's Rachel again. Let's see what this is. Probably nothing. She probably just wants to confirm the morning meeting at 8 a.m. So let me check it. He reads it. He's like, Rachel. All right. He probably texts. All right. She's done. We're firing her, right? We've got to get rid of her. So the associate called Rachel Cohen also recently organized an open letter that called on Big Law to respond to Trump. The letter was signed by more than 300 Big Law associates. Oh, got it. So now she's going to be leader and a hero. Within hours after sending the firm-wide notice, Cohen says she got lost access to her firm email account. Cut off. Bye. Yeah, adios. She says, if being on this career path demands I accept that my industry, because this is certainly not unique to Skaden, will allow an authoritarian government to ignore the courts, I refuse to take it any further, she wrote over on LinkedIn. And of course, agreed. Her request is approved. She can get her box, pack it up with her animal photos, and go home. So that's that. Now, here was the firm-wide email and attachment that Brad Karp, the chairman of Paul Weiss, sent to employees, right? So now this is back to the original firm that made the deal with Trump. Here's what their emails look like. Appear inside Big Law. They say, hey, dear members of the Paul Weiss community, we're pleased to announce that Trump's executive order related to our firm was withdrawn. We want to share with you the final agreement between Paul Weiss and the administration. This is the Pomerantz firm, right? And Perkins Coie, to be clear, they were in there arguing that they needed Beryl Howell to grant them a TRO because if they did not have a TRO, they said it would be catastrophic to their business. Like they would end as a firm. So this is like tremendous news for them because they have huge government contracts. They're in, in that money pit, and they get a lot of it. So we're pleased to announce, want to share with you the final agreement. Now, the commitments reaffirmed today are consistent with Judge Rifkin's 1963 statement of a statement of firm principles. And this is always that double entendre that firms use. It's like these are firm principles, and there are law firm principles, which states, among other things, that we believe in maintaining by affirmative efforts a membership of partners and associates reflecting a wide variety of religious, political, ethnic, and social backgrounds, and that through this policy we bring to service of our clients greater breadth of understanding and more. We believe in the pursuit of these, we can do that. So as a reminder, the firm's policies strictly prohibit firm personnel from speaking to the press or disclosing any information about the firm. Dude's like, what? Okay, hold on, let me take a picture of this and send it to the media, whether by posting on social media or otherwise. That didn't work. In addition, given the media attention focused on the firm and the sensitivity of this matter, we request that you refrain from any social media postings or other disclosures relating to the executive order or its withdrawal. You mean after this email? Please forward any media outreach to me or a communications director at this number. Thank you for your patience during this time. With that behind us, we can devote our complete focus, as we always do, to our work, our clients, our colleagues, and our firm. Now, just as here we've been commenting on the check, I forgot to sign the check defense, right, from President Trump. When they force his compliance, the courts are forcing their compliance. They're like, we're going to get right on bringing back the trans in the military. Like, we'll get right on that, like, real quickly. Of course, they won't. And it will be a slow process where there will be, it's like moving a sack of potatoes, like a big, it's a tough task to do. So yeah, the law firm will come out. They're going to tell Trump, they're going to tell America, whatever, they think Trump and America wants to hear, but we know who these people are. So it's a victory for sure. We'll keep our eye on them. But to be honest with you, I do hope that the Republican Party is able to shore up its legal game, because the Democrats have like $1 trillion invested in their legal infrastructure. They have control basically over everything. The ABA, all of the bars, all of the money, all of the associations are just embedded with blue liberals. The law schools are the same way. And many lawyers are very blue. So it'd be nice for the Republicans to start building their game, because the Democrats have stolen elections, in my opinion, weaponizing the justice system. So we're happy to see that there is accountability for these law firms, and we appreciate Anna Bauer sharing that stuff with us. Now, these lawyers are working hard to put a stop to DOGE, right? And to these changes that are happening via executive order. And we have covered many of these lawsuits here, but DOGE was out speaking. This is a person who's been working as part of the team who is explaining what they are uncovering and how the discrepancies are being found and just how massive they are.
Yeah, I've been brought in to look at the IRS's modernization program in particular, as well as the operations and maintenance budget. I really care a lot about this country. And this is a huge program that's currently 30 years behind schedule, and it's already $15 billion over budget.
Wait a second. Explain to our viewers what the program is in layman's terms.
Yeah, so the goal is to take, the IRS has some pretty legacy infrastructure. It's actually very similar to what banks have been using. It's old mainframes running COBOL and assembly. And the challenge has been, how do we migrate that to a modern system? Virtually every bank has already done this, but we're still using a lot of those same systems. And typically in industry, this takes a few years, maybe a few $100 million. And we're now 35 years into this program. We've actually been, if you ask them now, it's 5 years away. And it's been 5 years away since 1990. It's supposed to be delivered in 1996, and it's still 5 years away.
In your area of expertise that informs your ability to do this review is what?
I'm a software developer by background, and I'm a CEO of a software technology company.
So when you came into the department, the first thing you do is just get into the guts of the system and see how it operates?
Yeah, really talk to the software developers, talk to the people on the ground and what they're seeing. I think one encouraging thing is we actually have quite a lot of software talent on the ground, the people writing code. We actually have quite a lot of good people. It is almost always the case that when I ask them what the correct answer is, how do we solve these problems, they're almost always right, which is good. They just haven't been in a position to be empowered to make those decisions. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that we can solve this.
So reforms happening all over the place, DOGE, IRS, and now the Department of Justice, and legal contracts that have been in place for a while with these mega law firms now being revisited. And of course, this is going to cause people like Rachel Cohen to be very upset, get very mad, send emails, and, well, go find new jobs. Sounds like she has a lot of other people who are supporting her on her LinkedIn open letter, and maybe she can make a career out of it, just like Mark Pomerantz has and the rest of them. So we'll keep our eye on this. There will be many more lawyers who are having meltdowns over this, and we'll be here to enjoy. Now, let's turn our attention to the DOD. The DOD just issued revised orders and a new memo issued on March 21st, 2025. And this comes in conjunction with a court order saying you have to reverse your trans policy in the armed services. So this is an interesting development because it got submitted to the judge simultaneous with their motion to dissolve the entire injunction, right? Saying the policy has now changed, and so what they're suing about is now moot, and so you cannot continue to order us to do the thing. So they go together. Now, here is what the ultimate policy change looks like that was officially sent to senior Pentagon leadership from the Secretary of Defense and Pete Hegseth, saying, here's the priority. Says this memo is not to be implemented at this time due to the preliminary injunction issued in Talbot. When the court order is modified or lifted, this memo will be updated accordingly. Saying, as directed in our prior order from February 26, it is department policy that service members who have a current diagnosis or history of, or exhibit symptoms of gender dysphoria, no longer eligible for military service. Now, this member provides guidance to the military on how this works. Department policy also requires that service members abide by the standards of their biological sex, as reiterated in the prior memo, where a standard requirement or policy depends on whether the individual is male or female, fitness for duty, birthing, body fat standards, or whatever. All persons will be subject to the policy associated with their sex. And it refers to their immutable biological classification as male or female, to be clear. The Secretary of the Military is directed to require adherence to these and address noncompliance appropriately. Now, the primary means of identifying people with these diagnoses and or exhibit symptoms for people who are no longer eligible will be through reviewing medical records. All reviews of medical records or other protected health info will be conducted in accordance with the DoD manual. And so we're not going to violate any rules peering into people's records without, authority to do it. Now, the Secretary has authority to direct unit commanders to increase medical readiness. And we have a whole program by this that was called the IMR, Individual Medical Readiness Program, saying we can assess whether people are fit to serve. If during an assessment, a member is identified as having gender dysphoria, so there's a self-assessment questionnaire. If somebody checks, yep, I've got gender dysphoria, then a service member is categorized as not medically ready. So if you self-select, we can identify you, you're not eligible. So service members who are identified under the process detailed in this memo and not granted a waiver will be processed for involuntary separation. Service members pending involuntary separation may elect to self-identify for separation. So if you want to leave, you're free to go. Otherwise, it's involuntary and we'll just kick you out. So the policy guidance in this memo supersedes any conflicting policy guidance in other memos that have been issued. So very obvious what they've decided here, right? It's now men and women, boys and girls, Mars and Venus, whatever. So what is the holdup to this being implemented is, of course, the judge's order. And so they've got this right now. They're saying, hey, this is the new memo. We just issued this March 21st, filed it with the court, notifying them this is the new order, but we're not actually going to implement the new memo until the judge gives us permission. So then they filed this one in conjunction with that. So it's a 4-pager here from the DOJ. You can see Jean Lynn, Special Litigation Counsel, coming out from the Trial Attorneys Civil Division in DC. They say, this is our motion now to dissolve your injunction, which is saying you have to reintegrate the trans. Arguing, if not, we want a stay of your order. So they write to the judge, all right, judge, this case challenges an executive order that was issued on February 26, implementing new guidance. So that's what they originally sued about, right? Trump wins, takes office, they issue a new change, Hegseth is confirmed, trans policy goes into place, they sue over that. On March 18th then, the court entered a preliminary injunction that required Hegseth and Trump to maintain the status quo that existed before the issuance of the order. So revert back to basically Biden's policy. The injunction is premised on the court's view that the Hegseth policy bans all transgender troops from the military. Right? So the policy is too broad. The judge says it's all transgender, and so it's illegal. So that view is in turn based on an interpretation of, among other things, the following language in the DoD policy. So the original order is referencing other policy, which says service members who have a current diagnosis or history of, or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria are disqualified from military service. But Trump has explained that the DoD policy presumptively barring individuals from serving in the military turns on gender dysphoria. It is a medical condition, and it does not discriminate against a trans-identifying person as a class, right? So the judge is saying, whoa, you can't just get rid of all transgender troops because that is put into a class of people, and you can't broadly discriminate against an entire class, is the argument. But they're saying we're not. We're saying that this is a medical condition, and they have self-identified, or you've identified it in medical records. So you were basing your order, forcing us to go back to the status quo because you said that we were treating them as a class. But let's clarify that. We're not treating them as a class. We're treating them as people with a medical condition, which under other provisions mean they're not fit to serve, and we're disassociating with them on that basis. So we notified you, Judge, that further guidance was then expected. And that's what we just read. So it's a nuanced change. It's like, it's not banning you because you identify as a transgender person. It's banning you because you've got medical records that say you're on hormone treatment, or you've had, an addictomy or a chopadegotomy or whatever they are. And you've gotten some changes happening. And that means that you're not fit. So that's the process, right? That, due process before that's the mechanism by which they're going through it. So defendants had further advised the court that we're going to clarify this. So then they did. On March 21st, the DOD issued the expected guidance. We just read it. In pertinent part, the new guidance confirms the phrase exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria. So it's symptoms, right? It refers to diagnostic criteria outlined in the diagnostic and the statistic manual of mental disorders. And it applies only to individuals who exhibit such symptoms as would be sufficient to constitute a diagnosis, right? So it's like, it's medical now. Because the March 21st guidance confirms that the court has misconstrued the policy, you thought we were just calling a bunch of trans people. No. It's a medical condition. So since we've clarified that for you, and since you were mistaken, we now respectfully move to dissolve the preliminary injunction. Since you based it on a misinterpretation, we've now corrected the record for you. So the party seeking to dissolve this must demonstrate that there was a significant change in the conditions during the law, and that if you continue to enforce the injunction, it's detrimental to the public interest. Now, the March 21st new guidance that we just read is a significant change. The court has broadly construed the scope of our policy to encompass all trans identifying service members or applicants. But the new guidance underscores the consistent position that the DoD policy is concerned with military readiness, deployability, and costs associated with a medical condition, one that every prior administration has to some degree kept out of the military. So given this confirmation and for the other reasons stated in their prior opposition, defendants asked the court to dissolve its preliminary injunction. And defendants further request the court should extend the stay of the injunction currently scheduled to expire today, pending resolution of this motion to dissolve. And so it is interesting. So now you can think about this a little bit narrowly, right? I think it actually does narrow the policy. So in other words, if you are a trans person and you don't identify it on your medical form, or you don't require any trans medical treatments, right? Let's say you come out of pocket for your own hormones or surgery, whatever. If you come out of pocket and the military is not paying for that, then that's not going to show up in your medical file as needing whatever. And if you don't self-identify, then you can go into the military. This will happen. So just to be clear, so somebody's going to do this, and it'll be a lawsuit about it. Oh no, I was oppressed, I was victimized, or whatever. And so if you just show up and dress differently, for example, you show up, you get admitted, all the things, and you say I'm now trans, but I just whatever it is. They're focusing more on the medical condition. So then somebody will just not comply or not need anything medically or identify medically, and they'll try to thread the needle that way. So it'll be coming. But should the court deny the motion, we ask that the court stay the injunction pending appeal. So don't make us reintegrate right now. The acting solicitor general has authorized the Court of Appeals, says the test for a stay here is the same. We believe, since we've changed the rules, that we are going to be successful with relief. And of course, the trans lawyers are opposing the requested relief therein. So interesting development. This is in the District of Columbia, and we've got lots of questions about this issue. Now, Charlie Kirk clipped this for us, and Senator Mike Lee also reposted this. Lots of conversations about trans in general, not only in the DOD, but also violence in the streets, because several people were arrested yesterday, and CNN is having a hard time confirming whether or not these are transgender individuals who committed some of these acts of violence. Here is their report.
Yeah, Musk has been retweeting posts saying things like 3 out of the 4 people arrested are trans or non-gender conforming. Now, there are claims circulating online that some of the people who have been arrested are trans or non-binary, and people are taking this off of social media accounts. We have not confirmed this ourselves, and authorities have not confirmed anything about their gender identity. And what Musk is doing, as he often does, he's just seeing things crossing his timeline, and he retweets them and he posts them without seemingly doing much research, even though he is sitting at the White House and he could probably get the best stats and research on what's happening. He also, though, began reposting claims that trans people are more violent than non-trans people. But here is a fact. Trans people are more than 4 times as likely to be victims of violent crime.
All right, so they're out defending trans people. Elon's attacking the trans, of course, and CNN's defending the trans. And The military's having to battle it, but judge is in D.C. are currently going to decide what happens in the future of the military. Now, speaking of this topic, we've got Adam Schiff says the path back to power for the Democrat Party is to be the party, and we've had this little game we've been playing here. When you hear from Democrats, are they either referencing a bodily orifice or a bodily function? It's the orifice or function test of Democrats. And in recent weeks, it has been pretty dang accurate, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times. You can also maybe throw in like Nazi symbols because they're always waving those around too. But here was Shifty saying they've got to get stuff done.
I think actually the path back to power for the Democratic Party is to show that we can get done again. This really has to be our focus.
Wow, that's really exciting for Democrats. So that's Adam Schiff, who is promising to get Schiff done from his censured Senate seat in California. Now, also, we've got Hegseth. He's explained it. We're not slowing down, all right? We are cutting, saving Americans money, bringing peace through strength. Here is the Secretary of Defense.
We're back with another quick update on our efforts to cut wasteful spending and cut it quickly at the Department of Defense so we get the dollars to the things that the warfighters need. So today, I'm signing a memo directing the termination of over $580 million in DoD contracts and grants that do not match the priorities of this president or this department. In other words, they are not a good use of taxpayer dollars. Ultimately, that's who funds us, and we owe you transparency and making sure we're using it well. So here's quickly what we're canceling today. There's an HR software effort that was supposed to take a year and cost $36 million, but instead it's taken 8 years and is currently $280 million over budget, not delivering what it was supposed to. So that's 780% over budget. We're not doing that anymore. Number two, another batch of DoD grants, $360 million worth this time. Decarbonizing emissions from Navy ships, part of the Obama-Biden green agenda, that's $6 million. $5.2 million on something that would diversify and engage the Navy by engaging underrepresented BIPOC students and scholars. Another $9 million at a university to approach equitable AI and machine learning models. I need lethal machine learning models, not equitable machine learning models.
Nice.
And number three, in our ongoing effort to cut wasteful spending on external consulting services, $30 million in contracts with Gartner and McKinsey. It's IT, purchasing, unused licenses. So when you add it all up, $580 million in DoD contracts and grants, DOGE is helping us cut today. What does that bring our total number up? Total cuts, running total, $800 million in wasteful spending canceled over the first few weeks as DoD partners with DOGE here to make sure that our warfighters have what they need by cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse. They're working hard. We're working hard with them. We appreciate the work that they're doing, and we have a lot more coming, so stay tuned. So might as well not waste any more time right now. Just sign this thing. How about that? So this makes it official.
Do it! Cut.
We're going to keep going for you guys.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate that. It's a nice start. We're happy to see these reforms are happening in spite of these judges. We're going to continue to make progress, and we'll cover it right here. All right, now, we got one final story on the day, my friends, and then we'll hear from you. Let me do a little sneaky refresh right here to see if we have an update from the judge. We don't. He probably took the rest of the Friday off. What a bum. All right, so let's get into it. President Trump now demanding Republicans do something, step in here and help him out a little bit. We've got judges all across the country issuing nationwide injunctions stopping the president from enacting his agenda. We all voted for it to be enacted on day one, and the judges are stealing our time away from us, and we've got to do something about it. So the president came out with two truths on this, and we also have some developments like this one. H.R. 1526, which was introduced by Darrell Issa, and the Judiciary Committee is talking about it. We'll come back to that. But here's what Trump said, largely in response to Judge James Boasberg. This is the judge who ordered the planes with Tren de Aragua terrorists to be flown back into the United States so that they could run free and not be deported because they hate President Trump. So he says, look, Judge James Boasberg is doing everything in his power to usurp the power of the presidency. He is a local, unknown judge, a grandstander looking for publicity, and it cannot be for any other reason because his rulings are so ridiculous and inept. Save America. And he's saying that unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care even a little bit about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. Lawyers endlessly search the United States for these judges and file lawsuits as quickly as they find them. It is then the obligation of law-abiding agencies of government to have these orders, in quote, overturned. The danger is unparalleled. These judges want to assume the powers of the presidency without having to attain 80 million votes. They want all of the advantages with none of the risks. Again, a president has to be allowed to act quickly and decisively about such matters as returning murderers, drug lords, rapists, and others, criminals, back to their homeland and to other locations that will allow our country to be safe. It is our goal to make America great again. And such a high aspiration can never be done if radical and highly partisan judges are allowed to stand in the way of justice. Stop nationwide injunctions now, before it is too late. If Justice Roberts and the United States Supreme Court do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in very serious trouble. And he's right, John Roberts should get control of his branch of government and stop the madness because they're tiptoeing on a very dangerous line. And so this case involves this guy, Judge James Boasberg, appointed by Barack Obama, served on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, and now is handling this U.S. alien terrorist removal case. Close friends, I'm sure, with Judge Beryl Howell and the rest of them out of the D.C. circuit, all operating to stop Trump. Now, Jim Jordan, who leads the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives, said, Darrell Issa might have a solution to this thing. He has a bill that would stop radical judges from imposing nationwide injunctions on Trump's agenda, which 77 million Americans voted for, saying, we passed that bill out of the Judiciary Committee, and so let's make sure we can get it to President Trump's desk. And that's a very short bill. Here's what it looks like. Perhaps the solution to stopping these reckless judges and their nationwide injunctions is H.R. 1526. A bill introduced by Darrell Issa and others from California. He says to amend Title 28 of the U.S. Code, very short bill, says all we got to do is this. We're going to call it the NORA Act, No Rogue Rulings Act. And all it does is limit the authority on district courts and what they can do with injunctions. So they amend the law to say, notwithstanding any provision of the law, no United States District Court shall issue any order providing for injunctive relief, except in the case of such an order that is applicable only to limit the actions of a party to the case before such district court with respect to the party seeking injunctive relief from such district court. Very simple. All it's saying is that you can't go outside the parties in the building. So in the Alien Enemies Act case, there were a slew of people who sued, and what the judge did is expand it beyond those people who sued, right? There are 5 or so immigrants or illegal immigrants or aliens or whatever their status was, we don't really know, but they were deported. And the judge said, actually, they were not deported. The judge actually expanded the scope beyond them and said that that everybody else, even besides them, could not be deported, right? So it was much broader than the people who actually filed the lawsuit. And we've seen this before too. We saw this with Judge Amir Ali, the USAID case, the judge who was born in Ontario or from Ontario. He came in and people sued and said, you canceled our contracts. He said, well, all USAID contracts are coming back to the tune of $2 billion, even though the people who were suing only had a couple dozen $1 million that they were owed, allegedly. So there is a limitation there. Now, I wonder if this would prevent what Judge Boasberg did, which is just certifying those people as a class, right? He just turned it into a class action lawsuit. So it would limit it to the actions of a party, but what if these courts just call them class actions? So they might want to amend that or revise that or think that through, because Judge Boasberg already got around that. He just said, oh, it's just a class action lawsuit. And now it covers everybody in the whole country. So might want to think about that. But we had this case happening today. So yesterday, in the Judge Boasberg case, we saw the judge ordered the administration to respond or else, and said, give me your answer by noon about whether the cabinet has actually been talking about invoking the state's secret privilege. Of course, the Department of Justice complied. They said August E. Flentje, acting director over at the Civil Division, submitted this. Says, all right, Judge, you want a declaration? Here it is. It is now attached, and guess who it came from? Our boy Todd Blanche, baby. Back in the House. So Todd Blanche signed this one, sent it into the court. Todd Blanche, writing down here, said this: I am the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. I am submitting this declaration pursuant to Judge Boasberg's order, saying on March 20th, the government submitted a declaration from Robert L. Cerna, which stated the following: I understand that cabinet secretaries are currently actively considering whether to invoke the state secret privilege over other facts requested by the court's order. The court is trying to catch Trump in a lie or in a violation of the court's order, saying, I ordered you to turn the planes back, and they didn't, right? When did the order come down? Why didn't you call them and tell the pilots, bring those terrorists back to the country? You violated an order. This will lead to contempt or sanctions, which will then lead to a call for impeachment, and they'll demand it at some point. So it's just the impeachment trap. They're waiting for the right one. Now, doing so, wrote yesterday Robert Cerna, is a serious matter, and it requires careful consideration of national security and foreign relations. It cannot be properly undertaken in just 24 hours. And the judge was not happy about that word. I understand, he said. You don't know? You were in a party to these conversations? Well, who was? So then he said, go find somebody in the cabinet who can actually explain what's happening. So then they went and got Todd Blanche, Deputy AG, Senate confirmed. Says, I attest to the accuracy of those statements based on personal knowledge of the events, including my direct involvement in ongoing cabinet-level discussions regarding invocation of the state secret privilege. So there you go, Judge. I declare under penalty of perjury the foregoing is true and correct. Signed, Todd Blanche, Deputy AG. What's up, Todd? So that got submitted today, and then we had a hearing. So the judge ordered a hearing today, and Margot Cleveland, doing amazing work on X, please follow her and support her work, was listening in and gave us a tidbit on what happened inside the courtroom. The judge came out, this guy, and started drilling the attorneys. He said, oh, it's nice to see you here. Where were you yesterday when we had this other hearing about this? And the DOJ said, well, Your Honor, you certified this as a class action, and you said that even more are now subject to the proclamation. And the judge said, well, and I did not order anyone released or that you couldn't deport anyone via regular proceedings. He said, well, I think you kind of did because it's a class action. Well, he says, well, I think it's important to the public to make these facts clear, because the DOJ sounds like the DOJ was saying, well, you said we can't deport anybody because you made it a class, and the class covers the whole country. So I guess we can't. So all the terrorists are here because you ordered them here. Says, we've complied with your court order. And we have a nice meme there, Boasberg. I'm the personification of belligerent judicial elitism. This guy. Reyes, the judge, I think from Uruguay, something. Hold my Chardonnay, she says. Or hold my pronouns, yeah. Says, So she got kicked out of the courtroom, couldn't come back. She gets back in. The DOJ was distinguishing between what is reviewable and what is not, but argues that Judge, in other words, if they're unhappy that these people are being detained under the Alien Enemies Act, they can file a petition for a writ of habeas corpus saying that we are illegally and lawfully detaining them. That's their mechanism. They don't get to file a civil complaint lawsuit in your courtroom and then you reverse everything. That's not the mechanism, the jurisdiction that you have. The judge says, well, Al-Qaeda even required proof that they were members of Al-Qaeda if they were being held in Gitmo. He says, well, there's habeas available, so just they can go through habeas. He says, well, okay, fine, the judge. Let's talk about habeas. If that is the sole avenue of review, since they were dismissed, it seems that while it has taken place in habeas, they were challenging detention. In what case were they not? The DOJ says, well, there were international cases that people used habeas. We removed them to another country in these other cases. And their challenge is that the government can't exercise authority under the AEA. But we can. Judge says, well, if folks like that type are entitled to some sort of hearing, aren't they? What is the standard of review to determine whether they're members of a gang? How do we decide, okay, they're members of a gang so we can get rid of them? DOJ says, well, there's no clear case law on that, Judge. It's generalized principles, but the review from the legal system, from the courts, is deferential to the executive, right? That's a decision for the executive to make. The courts don't make that decision. We do. Well, what is the role of the court to make sure that people aren't removed from the country? Habeas, Judge. There are habeas courts, and they're in Texas, and they're addressing those right now. These claims are being resolved in habeas claims, including all of their constitutional complaints. Well, are you saying that national security concerns won't be a problem? Well, it's not an issue for me, but it's in habeas court, so they can go there. Well, what if it is a national security issue? You can go to the ATRC or something. Your Honor, that's never been used previously. But just because another tool doesn't mean the AEA isn't allowed. So due process rights of aliens are very limited to those provided by the statutes. Well, the court says the Fifth Amendment guarantees to aliens rights to due process, right? Well, only what Congress provides to them under the Fifth Amendment. So aren't you precluding due process then? So you're saying they don't have due process? You're only saying there's habeas? Well, some issues they can't challenge, right? So facial claims is likelihood of success on the merits. If they want to file a habeas claim, they may. All these plaintiffs here, they can. But this suit is not an appropriate manner to resolve this. They can't sue under the APA. Merely implementing the president's directions means you can't be sued, and the ability to raise habeas claims means they can't sue under the APA. They can sue under the APA if they have no other mechanism, but they do. It's habeas. She says, she summarizes it for us. Thank you, Margot. Says, bottom line, you can't bring in a habeas claim. You can't bring implied causes of actions in courts of equity. Well, what about a CAT claim? Well, it's a habeas claim, Your Honor, because they're saying you can't use the AEA claim, the Aliens Act, to exercise control over me. The judge said, well, I just want to know the facts about what happened here. Well, we intend to comply with your court order. Well, I'm talking about habeas. Then Margot gets a Trende Aragua lawyer, right? I like how she's calling them TDA lawyers. We call them gangbanger lawyers here because they love gangbangers. And anyways, government doesn't give us time, Your Honor. The government doesn't even give us time to file habeas complaints. By the time we want to sue, then they're already out of the country. So it's illusory. So they're already gone. They're already in Venezuela prisons. Like, we're never going to get them back. The government is asking you to look at 50 years of law and reconsider what we've been doing for 50 years. The core question for habeas is about release. Yes, it could be brought in habeas, but doesn't mean we can't bring it in non-habeas ways. Now, how do you see this process playing out, says the judge to the TDA gangbanger lawyers. Do members have to request a hearing? Does the government have to provide a hearing? Like, how does it work? Gangbang TDA lawyer says, well, it's uncharted territory, Your Honor. But before we had a hearing board. Now, at minimum, there must be a meaningful challenge. If the court upholds the TRO, we would ask for more time to think about how this procedure would work. So we don't really know how it would work. Well, what would the venue be? Where would you guys hold these cases, like under your strategy? Well, these are all fair and hard questions, but we still don't think it needs to be brought in habeas. Okay, well, it's not habeas. What kind of claim is it? This one? So it would be more like an administrative hearing followed by judicial review, right? So the judge is now saying, well, all right, they say they're gangbangers and they need a hearing to determine, like, so what kind of process do you envision? Well, it should be like an administrative hearing and then the court should review it. Okay, so so they have to follow that. Should the TRO, the judge says, if I issue this, should it be narrowed to exclude individuals who admit or don't challenge that they're members of TREN? Well, there must be a process, the gangbang lawyers, that allows TDA to understand the process, to talk to attorneys and to understand the consequences. So these gangbangers can get lawyers and, all their rights and maybe like a hotel too. Okay, the judge says, well, what's your position on the modification of the TRO? We must be able to contest that you are covered by the proclamation. So we must be able to say they're actually not TDA. But the threshold question of can the act be used in this way, it must be reviewable. Now, Margot says, yeah, I've been criticizing Boasberg, but he's demonstrating judicial temperament. Sounds like he's being reasonable today. The TDA lawyers say they are only poor little low-level terrorists. Wow, they are only poor little low-level terrorists. So the judge says, so they say to the judge, just leave the TRO in place and let's see how the circuit decides it. Well, the judge says, well, why can't they challenge that government has never allowed them to bring a CAT claim? Well, of course they can bring those claims. Well, there was a third plane of folks that weren't really sent to El Salvador pursuant to the removal order. We have to stay where they are. And this lawyer says they also haven't returned some people to us. The judge asked the DOJ, well, where is that third plane? Your Honor, everyone on the third plane had final orders of removal from judges in court, so they're gone. All right. Well, I may require more specific information because Tren de Aragua is raising a reasonable concern. Like, so you can just say that they're TDA and they're just gone? Like, what if they're not? If the DOJ will have individual hearings to ensure that Venezuelans are TDA. No, Your Honor, we don't need individual hearings to make that determination. We've made that determination, and if they want to challenge it, then they can fight it in habeas. It provides whatever relief is appropriate. So we're not going to be doing pre-hearings for terrorists to give them due process. Well, just because they say we could bring it in habeas doesn't mean we have to bring it in habeas, Your Honor. There's other case law. Just because there's habeas availability doesn't mean that there's not jurisdiction here. The president's determination of war or invasion and other things, that's not for the court to decide. But the court should afford due process here. And the judge goes back to the government and says, you have to admit, it's very frightening what this terrorist lawyer is positing that a president could do. Your Honor, that's why it's entrusted to political branches. And Congress could address that. If they don't like it, if the president is acting a fool, Congress can impeach it. Congress can address it. And says, the gangbanger lawyer says, you need to suggest that the court could put class certification in writing as well. And so looks like that is about the conclusion of the hearing from Margot. And we're grateful for her reporting on that. So top line, Margot says, Boasberg isn't nearly done figuring out if Trump violating the order or what to do. And merits, I expect him to rule he has jurisdiction. Given the D.C. Circuit precedent, it appears better to rule is any challenge must be brought in habeas, which then means there is no jurisdiction in Boasberg's case, right? He can't hear it. In habeas, the questions about applicability of the Alien Enemy Act are many and complex. And finally, given the individualized assessments needed to determine if they're removable, this case should not have been certified as a class either, right? So great reporting from Margot Cleveland. Of course, please be sure you are following her at the top of our timeline over on X. So that happened. Other House representatives are introducing articles of impeachment. And this one came out against Theodore Chwang, who was the same judge who we've covered here before, a Democrat who has been attacking Trump in multiple opinions. So this representative said, we now have articles of impeachment against Theodore Chuang from Maryland because this judge has been presiding over cases involving Trump. In fact, he issued a memo in the case of the John or Jane Does versus Elon Musk saying you have to hire back all of the fired employees and reinstate access to emails and payments and security. And he, without any Article 2 authority, which vests power in the President of the United States, seized it and mandated that they get hired back. Also, violating the separation of powers in a patent way, saying we've got to disperse funds to organizations that are linked to foreign terrorist organizations and more. In fact, he's mandating, this judge, Chuang, is mandating the immediate provision of access to government systems without regard to anything the president has requested. He mandated this access back to USAID. And we know that a report indicates that USAID did not ensure awards went to Gaza and didn't go to terrorism. In fact, in November 24, USAID was found to have financed hundreds of thousands of meals for al-Qaeda fighters in Syria. Now, while arguing that Trump and the reorganization is causing irreparable harm, this judge is facilitating terrorism in Syria. Unbelievable. So accordingly, Chuang has engaged in conduct so lacking in due concern for the separation of powers, so lacking in care for the national security of America, that he should and is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, is unfit to hold the office of federal judge, and should be removed from office. And it sounds like he is aiding and abetting terrorism. Certainly sounds like a high crime and misdemeanor to me. Someone else on the engagement train is Arizona Representative Andy Biggs. Here's what he had to say about all this.
Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution allows Congress to limit jurisdiction, and that's what we're doing. So I have legislation that would limit the jurisdiction of federal district courts to only the litigants before them and the case before them, so you couldn't issue nationwide injunctions, Harris. We're talking about impeachment. We're talking about defunding certain courts and jurisdictional limitation on courts and the areas that they can rule in. But I want to point out something. Most people think that federal judges have lifetime tenure. Everybody is told that, but that's not accurate. Article 3, Section 1 is very clear that they only get to have their job during a tenure of good, and this is the quote, good behavior. And when you're abusing your power for political purposes, you have violated that clause, and you are subject to termination from your job as a federal judge.
Yep.
And that doesn't even require impeachment, Harris. What it requires is Congress to basically issue a resolution saying this judge is acting outside of his scope of conduct. He's engaged in misconduct and is not engaged in good conduct right now.
Yeah, we saw that promoted on X by Andrew Branca, Law of Self-Defense as well. Nice to hear it out of Congress because, of course, they're the ones who have the power to do that. So nice to hear that from Andy Biggs, and shout out to Branca. We also heard Tammy Bruce, who was explaining these deportations are necessary. She's the State Department spokeswoman who works alongside Rubio. Here's the latest from her.
South and Central America, convincing people on the merits of our argument about national security and sovereignty and the importance of nations taking back, repatriating their own citizens who have been in America illegally and have been committing crimes against the American people. So it is diplomacy. It is also about the Department of Homeland Security. It is about President Trump's vision as we move forward to make America safe, secure, and prosperous as we make America great again. That's the big takeaway this week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, State Department under Marco Rubio and Tammy Bruce. We appreciate those developments, and we agree. Now, these judges continue to attack Trump and America, trying to take him out, but Secretary Howard Lutnick was explaining the true nature of the president and why coming after him not going to work out well for you.
About Donald Trump. He was the most famous, the most fun, the most interesting person 30 years ago,
Yeah.
33 years ago. I mean, here's the best thing. He's been on the cover of Time magazine 59 times.
No way.
And then he leans over to me and he goes, and 20 were good. I'm like, but who can take that?
Yeah.
I mean, who could take, like other people, when you have a bad cover of Time magazine, you'd crumple, right, and be sand on the floor. Instead, he's like,
But so Howard, is it that he's just totally wired to understand that moment, like of being a public figure, or like what is it that's so unique about what constitutes the ability to navigate that over 40 years?
I think it adds energy to him. Right? So everybody else's energy, what they don't understand is people bring negative energy to Donald Trump, right? And they're just charging his battery. Okay? Your energy around him comes to him. So when I come at him with a lot of energy, he comes back with a lot of energy.
Right.
Right? It doesn't matter. He never steps back. He just sort of takes it like the centrifuge and then hurls it back at you. And he's been that way always. So this is not new.
This is just who he is.
This is who he is. So those other people who attack him, they think they're attacking him. They're charging his battery. They're literally charging his battery. So he comes back bigger, stronger, bigger, stronger. And once you understand the man, the most intuitive person that you've ever met.
Yeah.
And people say, well, okay, so people who know me, I don't suffer fools. And they have all these derogatory, all my left liberal friends, all these derogatory statements about the guy, right? And they know me really well.
Yeah.
Right? And they'd say, well, how can you work for him? I'd say, how can I work for him? The most intuitive person. He senses it. He knows it.
Interesting conversation. That came out from the All In podcast and sounds like a great conversation. So go check the rest of that out over from those guys. But Howard Lutnick explaining how Trump works, and that resonates with what we've seen here in practice. Everybody who comes at him gets overwhelmed, and it's been going on for years. And the Democrats still haven't figured it out. They're doubling down. They've got AOC and others trying to seize this mantle, see how it works out for them. But we'll be here continuing to cover this one, and we'll hope the Republicans spring into action and assist this administration and their country. All right, now, my friends, if you're just joining us, we had a great stream. Happy Friday. Quick recap on what we talked about here before we jump into your comments. Thanks for supporting us with your super chats, your membos, and your viewership. We appreciate it. We had great updates out of Perkins Coie. Trump submitted a motion to disqualify to have Judge Beryl Howell recuse herself for being a partisan, biased judge who weaponized the government against Trump in many different arenas. We also talked about the bending of the knee of Paul Weiss, another Democrat law firm that was employing Mark Pomerantz and maybe Kerry Dunn, who were essentially working for free with Alvin Bragg to try to create a case against Donald Trump. They entered into a deal. The executive order as applied to them will be rescinded, and someone inside another law firm called Skadden Arps went ballistic, sent this email. You guys better stand up for these other law firms or I'm quitting. And they said, okay, bye, Rachel. Get your stuff. Get the hell out. And they shut off her email, allegedly. That came out from Anna Bauer. So pretty funny stuff. We also then saw in the trans DOD case, the DOD just came out and kind of just revised the policy and just said, well, now it's very legal, or very medical specific. And if they qualify for this medical condition, then we're going to be booting them out. And that is an individualized standard. It's not applied to a whole class. It sounds like you misinterpreted the prior policy. So we've now revised it. And you can get rid of your TRO. You don't need to have an injunction on us anymore now that we've created some clarity for you, Judge. So we'll see what the judge says, whether it adds any clarity. I doubt it. Then we got James Boasberg, this corrupt judge. Trump is saying we should do something about this guy now. And we read through some possibilities on what might be done to rein these judges in. One is a bill from Representative Darrell Issa. We also heard from the court themselves, from Todd Blanche, saying, yes, we're considering state secrets. Stop stepping on our business and meddling in our affairs. And we heard from others about impeachment filings for Thomas Chuang and others in D.C. So we're starting to stack up some impeachments for various judges. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And thank you so much for joining us. I hope your week was amazing and that you accomplished every single thing you set your mind to. And thank you for supporting us here on the day. Let's see who's joining us. Oh, yeah, we were talking about chocolate peeps this morning because we were trying to identify what peeps are. Marshmallows, but I mean, really, what are they? We don't really know. But what's going on? All right, what's up? Yabba dabba doo. Happy Friday to you, Fred Flintstone in the house. It's going to be a great weekend, my friends. I hope you're excited for it. We got King Asphalt. What's up, King Asphalt? Thank you for becoming a membo. We'll see you tomorrow. New membos. We'll see you on the Saturday stream tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we'll party. It's going to be great. Hey, what's up? SD Gold Star Mom. Hey, happy spring. Have a great weekend. SD Gold Star Mom, I got a package notification. It might be here. I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up. It might be here. 14 months as a membo. Thank you for that, SD Gold Star Mom. Run Mead. What's up, Run Mead? Hello. Hi. On a boat. Thank you, Run Mead, for supporting us over on Locals. Great to see you. Rob, MAGA Michigan Patriot, says, I find it funny. We all talk about the 10 to 20 million illegals. Nobody is talking about the 7 to 10 million illegals that were already here. Hi, Rob. Yeah, I know what you mean. The number is very dynamic. It's like before Joe Biden and before even Obama, I thought there were like 15 to 20 million. So it's been like 3 decades and it's still like 20 to 30 now. The numbers aren't jibing. Thank you, Rob. What's up? FLC. FLC. Fleck is here. What's up, Fleck? Thanks for becoming a membo. We'll see you in the morning. Hey, Rhino Poop. Our membos should start a Women's Blue Collar Defense Association and plow the WWCDA to the side where they belong. Take over. We'll just have a better conference. All the women would. I mean, obviously. So it's not a bad idea, Rhino Poop. Be much more interesting than Beryl Howell. Glenn Croy. Oh, Glenn. Beryl Howell was my judge for J6. Had to listen to her for 3 hours at my sentencing. Glenn Croy. God love you, brother. Thank you for being here, man. Thanks for being a part of our show, for sharing that with us. Sorry you had to go through that. Those are 3 hours you'll never get back, that's for sure. Thank you, Glenn, for joining us. What's up? Ed is here. Hey, Ed, bringing in membos. We got 5 new membos coming in, courtesy of Ed2276 is here. Saintly Beginnings, welcome. C Money, what's up? Edward Baxa. Ran out of channel names. That's a lot. Gerald Campos coming in. Thank you, Ed, for bringing him in. New membos. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, here you go. FD Man, number 12 on Rumble, says, Mark Pompous Ass Rants. Yeah. For Mark Pomerantz. Pompous Ass Rants. Yeah. That was his birth name. What's up? Sportfish. Hey, did you cover Letitia James's mortgage fraud stories? Not yet. I think we'll talk. I've got that in the queue. I think we'll talk about that tomorrow. On her investment properties and her marriage to her father. Yeah, I saw one report on that. I hadn't had time to dig around to my satisfaction on that. But, oh, yeah, you know how much we love a Tish James story here. Thank you, Sportfish. What's up, Run Mead? Given Schumer's pride in packing the lower courts and many of the appearing both in trials of the current lawfare and the invite-only club for elite judges in D.C., including John Roberts, is there probable cause for Article 2 oversight and investigation for potential extra Article 3 violations? I don't think so. I mean, like the story about John Roberts being in incestuous clubs with all the other judges, is that enough for criminal charges? I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless you find some strange monetary, something else would have to be there. But this is how Washington is, right? They're all in elite little circles there. But that alone does not make you, I think, a criminal. Certainly curious. You ask about recusal and ethical things, but if you're going to go investigate the chief judge, like if Trump is going to investigate John Roberts, there better be something big there, because that would be a can of worms. Rhino Poop. We'll see if we really get 40 million of legitimate legal services from Paul Weiss. Oh, for sure. They're not. They're going to deliver $1 million of, it's going to be the opposite of Jack Smith, right? Jack Smith, I think there was a 10x value discrepancy delta there. I forget what the numbers were, but like $1 million or $100,000. It was 100,000. So it's more like $1 million probably of legal services of value given to Jack. Opposite. They'll give Trump $1 million and bill him for 40. FD Man says, lady lawyer DEI is over like you. Rachel Cohen, any relation to Michael Cohen? I don't know. Probably not. That's a pretty common name, but I don't know. What's up, Rhino Poop? Hey, Jeremy is dodging a bullet. Bye-bye, Rachel Cohen. I know. Gosh. What a drama queen. Get out. Get out. FD Man says the pompous firm. Pomerantz. No doubt. Sheila Poo says, whiny babies are the Dems. I am rolling on the floor laughing. They are. They're just whiny babies, man. It's just like constantly crying and democracy and dying. Republicans, stop your crying. Do something. Rhino Poop. Dear members of the Paul Weiss community, Bohica. Yeah. Good to see you, Rhino Poop. What's up, Leonard? Do Dems have any integrity at all? Answer, no. No, they don't. I'm assuming this is rhetorical. 0, it's called greed and envy, 0.000 and 0.00. So we got to the 100th and to the 1,000th decimal point. Answer, no. Thank you, chat, for confirming. Literally 100% accurate in the chat. Incredible. What's up? Chippewa Joe. 5 months as a membo. Good to see you, Chippewa Joe. Thanks for being here. Over halfway to a baby. We'll see you when it comes out. Mama Mima says, these judges make me want to vomit. Yes, I'm paying for a super chat just to share my nauseous condition. You're welcome. Thank you for that, Mommy. It helps. It helps with the nausea. Yeah, because then you just start to wonder, why am I sending money into this guy? It makes you less nauseous. You're like, now it changes your nausea into like regret, maybe a little shame, confusion. What just happened? Why? It goes fast, but thank you, Mommy Mima. We're happy to be a part of the solution here. And if you feel nauseous again, feel free to send another one. Brian, what's up? Thank you, honestly, for that. It is a sick thing that's happening. It really is not appropriate. And if you have a care for the justice system and democracy, or our republic rather, it is nauseating because you're watching these judges take control of the country. And these were the same people who lectured us about democracy. Beryl Howell lectured us about democracy. Brian, what's up? Brian Cananzi says, can Congress pass a law to create a board to review and force judges with obviously biased conflict to recuse themselves? Not really. Yeah, not really. I mean, there's some oversight, but it's a co-equal branch of government. So unless we amended the Constitution, like the judiciary, Article 3 sets how that works. So not really. Like there's the Judiciary Committee, right? Jonah Finn is talking about that. The Senate has the Judiciary Committee. The House has the Judiciary Committee. So they bring them in, they do oversight, they, appoint and confirm and consent, all the things, but not really. Not really. Not without an amendment. NY says, I took care of a service member recently as I am close to the 29 Palms Marine Base. This particular Marine unfortunately needed dialysis. I found out subsequently he was separated. Oh, man. Well, NY, thanks for helping our service members and our Marines. They need good doctors. We're glad you're caring for them. Travel Agent Amy. I love your transfer, add, and chop medical terminology. I'm so glad I wasn't driving when you said that. Yeah. Those are pretty gruesome names. Yeah, and I got those from Rush Limbaugh. That's the first time I heard those. He didn't say those much, because I don't think you can really say that too much on the airwaves. But very accurate and very descriptive. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Rhino Poop says, Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger Clause. I'm not sure what you're referencing there, Rhino Poop, but thank you for that. Says, do firemen become trans arsonists? I also don't know. Another interesting question. Roger Evans. What's up, Roger Evans? Thank you for becoming a membo and for joining up on as a membo. We'll see you tomorrow. Roger Evans in the house. Hey, Doanne. Instead, how about waste, theft, and fraud, or WTF? That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, we're cutting all the WTF out of our government. The abuse is basically theft. That's what that means. I like it. It's good. Elon might like that. That's a good one. Mommy Mima. If someone suffers from gender dysphoria, how can they be considered fit for service? Yeah, it's a great question. According to the DOD, they can't. And that is now subject to a judicial order, but we'll see what happens there too. Thank you, Mommy Mima, for that one. Yeah, that's the point. Rhino poop. You're right, Rob. They probably have at least $1 trillion in their war chest from all the laundering they have already done. Yeah, and I'm not saying the Democrats have a $1 trillion slush fund, but they have $1 trillion worth of infrastructure. Like, they've been skimming off the top for USAID, all of these green projects, all of the ed projects, all of the military projects, all of it. So that you build an infrastructure there. You build people, you build lists, you build buildings. I mean, so got some work cut out for us. Hey, Clark Blount. What's up, Clark? Thank you, Clark, for bringing in membos, 5 membos. Thank you, Clark. We've got Trigger in the house, Charlie Duck, Bennett Hooks, Susanna Rosanna Donna in the house, and Ultimate Darkness gifted membos courtesy of Clark. Thank you, Clark B. In the house, 5 new membos coming in. See you tomorrow. Hey, what's up, Tim Jake? Thank you, Tim. Says, hey, new to your daily live stream. I've been watching clips for several months. Thanks for what you're doing and keep up the good work. Thank you, Tim. Tim, thanks for sending in some love today. We appreciate that. And thanks for saying hello. Hope you keep coming back. We'd love to have you. This old guy says, I heard that Judge Boasberg was in the order of drafting a new order that says President Trump has to get the keys to Air Force One from Boasberg's office if he wants to fly anywhere. You're grounded, Trump. I'm taking these. Yes, come get him. Because Boasberg knows so damn much about airplanes and stuff. Yeah. Air Force One is now grounded. You're literally grounded because the judge is mad at you. Hey, Deluxe Knight says, just for our friends of the military service, here's one. Simply because it is funny and we are even having these decisions to begin with, thank you and may God bless you and your families. This one came in from this guy. And what is this guy's name? The B in LGBTQ means there are only 2 genders. Until we meet again. Because that's what bi means. Means 2. Good one. Chief Vince, it's been fun to watch since January 20 for sure. But the fun is over. When are the coat-tail riding Trump-trained politicians going to start codifying this stuff? Nicer show, Rob. Just saying, from Chief Vince. It would be nice to have the Republicans come out swinging. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have Mike Johnson kind of have like a little Elon flavor to it? Hey, man, we got this bill and this bill and this bill, and comes out like Trump does. And we're going to pass this and cut this and do all, like, get some poster boards. I don't care. Put the bills over here, like, show it up. I don't care, but let's see some congressional activity. Let's go. I'm with you, Chief. Hey, what's up, Cy B? Welcome, Cy B. We'll see you tomorrow. 0888. Good to see you, Cy B. Appreciate you, brother. We got Sheila Poo. Why would illegal aliens be afforded a citizen's right to due process? Yeah, you have due process in your home country, right? Go back to where you came from and fight it from there. Yeah, you don't get to show up uninvited to someone's home and demand a bed in there. And then they say you can't have a bed. You say this is oppression. Where's my due process? They come in, they steal your bed. You kick them out. They say, I'm violated. So it's being violated. I'm violated. So thank you for that, Sheila Poo. I agree. What's up? Jack Mack. 18 months as a membo. That's 2 full babies, Jack. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Says there is no low versus high level for terrorists. They're only going to kill a few people, okay? Not like 100, all right? It's only double-digit terrorism, so just relax, everybody. You're right about that, Jack. Thanks for being here. Rhino Poop says, quote of the day, they are only poor little low-level terrorists. Yeah. It's only a certain type of attack. It's not the other type of attack, therefore, just chill. Hey, what's up, Knox? Bierman is in the house. What's up, Knox? Says, TGIF all, Knox Bierman. Tren de Aragua members have very specific tattoos, namely trains and AK-47s. Dollar signs on the hands also. The jail photographs all tattoos upon intake. Will give a gang affiliation flag when those are seen. Yeah, and I think I've seen some declarations that were submitted saying that they mistook the tattoos, saying it's not a train like a gang train. It's a train because he wants to be a conductor. And he loves transporting goods and services on trains, obviously. He's not a gang member. Alan Harkin. Alan, man, look at this big fat dono. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for sending it, brother. Appreciate you. Says, excellent. Alan Harkin's our friend on Locals. Says, excellent information, and you make it understandable using the actual legal docs as receipts. Your energy is admirable. I look forward to your perspective and take on today's issues. You never let us down. Bravo, Robert. Alan, thanks, man. It's really my honor. I appreciate the time that we get to spend together because we're going through history. I feel like we're being a part of it. We get to watch it, and by being educated about it, we get to make educated decisions about it that impact all of our lives. And I think we're making progress, man. So I appreciate you helping us. You're always super generous. Thanks for coming over to Locals and joining up over there. Alan Harkin, cheers to you, my friend. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Sheila the Pooh, what's up? Sheila, 10 membos coming in. Look at this. We got Pew Hackett, Christopher Russell, Michael Emery, Emil. We got Jan Denning, Charlie, Adrian Angevine, Corina Jones, Chad Wooters, and Bruce Campbell. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila. And 10 new membos. I hope we see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. What's up? Rob Maga Patriot says, good show, Rob. Thank you, Rob Maga. And thanks for your support today. Grateful for you. Hey, it's Tony Hay Munkets bringing in 10 new membos. What's up, Tony Hay? Great to see you, my friend. Bringing in 10 more friends. Faraz is here. Pam Lovettery. We got Amanda, J-Mac, Mark Smith, Travis Warts. What's up, Christopher K? RF is here. Couture Leotards and Dev. Gifted membos, courtesy of our friend Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. Doanne says, Obama, middle name Trump, will never be president. Classic self-own. That was really pathetic of him when he dropped his little mic. Well, at least I will be president. Trump wins like 3 months later. What's up, Tony Hay Munkets? What's up, Doanne? Tony Hay says, I'm not fast enough to add everybody back. So hello, everybody. Hello, Robert. 1 month, I'll get my badge. I love badges. Does that make me weird? No, not at all. Badges are amazing. I submitted my blood moon photo to get my blood moon badge, and it's one of the most prideful moments of my entire life. So I'm happy about it. Feels like I accomplished something finally. What's up, Tony? Hey, thanks for that. I get it. Clifton Moberg. Good to see you, Clifton. Superman pair flying through the air for America. Thank you, Clifton. We appreciate you. Thank you for supporting us today. Resin Waves. What's up, Resin Waves? 13 months as a member by Veronica. Resin Waves by Veronica. Hey, sending you some things in 2 weeks. Whoa, Resin Waves. Thank you. That sounds fun. I appreciate that. Membo for 13 months. Thank you, Resin Waves. Looking forward to getting it. Appreciate you being here. Sharpie Guy says, hey, great content today, Rob. Thank you, Sharpie Guy. Well done, brother. Thank you. Yeah, we had some good stories today. I felt pretty good about the filings. I can't take any credit for it, but I'm happy that the other lawyers did all that work for us. What's up, G-Men? Maxine Waters shared this. I don't know if it's real or not. I don't know if that's real or not. You can't tell if it's Maxine Waters. Did she say this or not? Trump, that son of a bee, Trump just called me low IQ Maxine, wants me to take an IQ test. What kind of a man tells an elderly woman of color she needs to pee in a cup to prove how smart she is? Impeach. I don't know if it's real or not. You can't tell. That's the problem with Maxine. Who knows? James Pellan, what's up? James, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for signing up, becoming a membo. And new membos, grab the stream from this morning. It was fun. We talked about Cory Bush's criminal husband, allegedly. What's going on, Rob Maga Patriot? Do you foresee any constitutional amendments being done in the next 4 years? No. No way. No, it's very, very hard to amend the Constitution. Very hard. You need, I think, 2/3 of both houses and 3/4 of the states. You have a certain time period in which to do it. I don't think there's anything in the country that we're that in agreement on, unfortunately. Klinger, what's up? Klinger Mash, Max Klinger are MASH characters. Oh, MASH. I think MASH was a little bit before my time. I remember seeing it on, like there would be shows that we would watch, and then MASH would come on. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like 8 years old. What is this? And then I'd change it. Sheila Pooh. Corporal Klinger was a character on MASH who dressed as a woman to try to get kicked out of the service. Oh, that's hilarious. Now they do it to get into the service. Not anymore, though. Sheila Poo. That's funny. Hilarious. Hey, FD Man says, enough talk about getting the district judges in line with good behaviors or impeachments already. Time to cut the crap. Get the basket, get the picnic basket, or get off the basket. Oh, it's time to poop in the basket or get off the basket. So I've not heard of that one. To poop in somebody's basket, like that Tesla guy. Was that what he was doing when he was smearing his feces all over everybody's Tesla? Hey, Lenny Malley, what's up, Lenny? Says is pleading with you to please smash the like button, please. Like it, share and subscribe, share on all social media platforms, and God bless you all. Lenny, thank you for that. I often forget to say it. I appreciate you saying it. Knox says, I once argued that an Aryan Brothers guy, GFBD, God forgives, brotherhood doesn't, God forgives, the brotherhood doesn't, was really good times, better days. That didn't make it real. Was really good time. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're, okay. Knox is saying, okay, the dude's tattoo said GFBD. It means God forgives, but the brotherhood doesn't, right? So don't betray the brotherhood. So Knox is like, Your Honor, it means good times, better days. That's all it means. That's what it means, right? Yeah, it's like the train guy who wants to be a train conductor. No, he likes choo-choos ever since he was a boy. He was very interested in mechanics. Yeah. Okay. What, the mechanics of like decapitated humans? What are you talking about? All right, Knox. Thank you for that. My friends, thank you for sending in those amazing donos. Thanks for bringing in new membos. Check out the stream from this morning. We had a ton of fun making fun of Cori Bush and her failing life. But we also want to say hello to our friends on X before we go over to locals and wrap it up on the day. Anybody on X joining us? What's up, Mini Tika? Thank you, Mini Tika, for sharing our Rumble. We appreciate you doing that so people can follow us over there. Shaded says, the Judiciary Act of 1802 is a striking example of Congress exercising its constitutional prerogative to structure and, when necessary, restructure the judiciary. It reaffirmed that inferior courts exist at the pleasure of the legislature. From Z Hated in the house, Shaded. What's up, Free Thinking Latina? Hello, my beautiful friends. Hello, Free Thinking Latina. And Jody, Rob, what do you think of Trump changing Washington, D.C. to Washington, District of America? I like changing anything about Washington, D.C., so I think I'm for it. Late but here. Hit the like button, y'all, and God bless America. Is that a real thing? Is he going to change it to District of America? I'd like to rather just have it be not a district anymore. Or just like a historic district. But functionally, we start to diversify it. I know it's never going to happen, but I think it's just too much there. All right. So my friends, thank you once again for sending those in. Very grateful for your support on this lovely Friday. I hope your week was amazing and outstanding and you accomplished everything you set your mind to. We want to thank our mods and our meme smiths here. K-Bean, Donut, Mind Me. We got Carrie B, Playing Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janek modding the fort down for us. Just Rhonda purveying our emojis. We've got Jigum memeing the fort down for us, and our Doc Master Elliot providing docs and helping us stay apprised of all the latest developments. We're grateful for everyone who helps make this show work, including you. Thank you for being here, and thanks for joining us throughout this very busy week. We are going to unplug for the weekend. Membo stream will be back here tomorrow, of course, for Saturdays, but otherwise, my friends, it has been a heck of a week. We are going to pause there for the weekend to recharge ourselves, our spirits, our souls, rejuvenate our energy tanks so that when we come back here on Monday, we are restored and ready to go, because we're going to get back into it again. And in order to do it appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. An amazing weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.